While you're cutting back on groceries, skipping that vacation, and watching your rent eat up half your paycheck, there's a small group of American CEOs who are extracting more wealth from their companies than some nations generate in GDP. These aren't just high salaries. These are compensation packages so massive relative to their company's revenues that they reveal a stunning disconnect between executive pay and economic reality. Today, we're ranking the 5 American CEOs who take the most money from their companies relative to what those companies actually make. And the numbers will shock you. This isn't your typical CEO pay list. We're not looking at who makes the most money in absolute terms, because frankly, that becomes meaningless when every tech CEO has a 9-figure package. Instead, we're calculating something more revealing: each CEO's total compensation as a percentage of their company's annual revenue. This metric exposes which executives are truly draining the companies dry, taking such enormous slices of the pie that it raises serious questions about corporate governance and economic fairness in America. While working families struggle with inflation that's made everything from housing to healthcare unaffordable, these CEOs are extracting wealth at rates that would have been unimaginable just a generation ago. But first, let's talk about a CEO whose story became a stark symbol of everything wrong with American healthcare and executive compensation. Before we dive into our rankings, we need to establish a reference point. Brian Thompson, the late CEO of United Healthcare, who was tragically killed in December 2024. Thompson's compensation tells us everything we need to know about how disconnected executive pay has become from the services these companies provide. In 2023, Thompson made $10.2 million in total compensation from United Healthcare, a company that brought in $281 billion in revenue. That means Thompson's pay represented 0.0036% of United Healthcare's revenue, a figure that, while substantial, actually looks modest compared to the CEOs we're about to discuss. United Healthcare, the largest healthcare insurer in America, covers 49 million people while generating massive profits by denying claims at a rate nearly double the industry average. Under Thompson's leadership, claim denial rates for post-acute care rose from 8.7% in 2019 to 23% in 2022. The company posted $16 billion in profits in 2023, while Thompson pulled down his 8-figure package. Now, this is our baseline. A healthcare CEO making millions while overseeing a system that routinely denies care to maximize shareholder value. Now, let's see how much worse it gets. Coming in at number 5 is H. Lawrence Larry Culp Jr., CEO of General Electric, who made $87.4 million in 2024 from a company that generated approximately $180 billion in revenue. That means Culp's compensation represents 0.049% of GE's total revenue, meaning for every $2,000 the company brings in, about $1 goes straight to the CEO. Culp became the first outsider to lead GE in its 126-year history when he took over in 2018, and his compensation package is directly tied to stock performance. GE's shares have climbed 533% over the past 5 years, which explains the massive payout. But here's the thing. While Culp has been rewarded handsomely for financial engineering and cost-cutting, GE has shed tens of thousands of jobs and sold off major divisions. The aerospace and energy conglomerate that once employed over 300,000 people now operates as a much smaller entity, having spun off its healthcare and energy businesses. Culp's reward for shrinking the company? Nearly $90 million, while the workers who actually built GE's products were shown the door. When your CEO makes nearly 50 cents for every $1,000 the company generates, you have to ask, is any individual worth that much? Especially when the success comes from dismantling what previous generations built. At number 4, we have Tim Cook of Apple, who received $74.6 million in 2024 from the world's most valuable tech company. Apple generated $391 billion in revenue last year, making Cook's compensation 0.019% of total company revenue. Now, Apple defenders will point out that Cook has overseen massive growth and innovation since taking over from Steve Jobs in 2011. The company's market cap has grown exponentially, and Apple's ecosystem of devices and services have become more integrated and profitable than ever. But here's what's troubling. Cook's $74.6 million includes a $3 million base salary, $58 million in stock awards, and $12 million in non-equity incentive compensation. Meanwhile, Apple has been accused of planned obsolescence, has moved production overseas to exploit cheaper labor, and charges premium prices for products that often lack basic features competitors include as standard. While Cook extracts nearly $75 million annually, Apple retail workers, the people who actually sell these products to customers, often struggle to afford the devices they're paid to promote. The company that markets itself as innovative and forward-thinking pays its CEO enough money to buy roughly 75,000 iPhone 15 Pros, while many of its own employees need multiple roommates to afford rent near Apple stores. Taking the number 3 spot is Satya Nadella of Microsoft, who made $79.1 million in 2024 from a company that generated approximately $211 billion in revenue. Nadella's compensation represents 0.0375% of Microsoft's revenue, meaning he personally captures 4 cents of every $100 the company makes. Nadella has been widely praised for transforming Microsoft from a declining software giant into a cloud computing and AI powerhouse. Under his leadership since 2014, Microsoft's stock has gained over 1,000%, and the company has successfully pivoted to subscription services and enterprise solutions. But let's put this into perspective. Nadella's $79.1 million could pay the annual salaries of approximately 1,580 Microsoft engineers at the company's reported median pay. While he has been celebrated for fostering a more inclusive culture at Microsoft, the reality is that his compensation has grown exponentially faster than that of the workers who actually write the code, design the products, and serve the customers. Microsoft has also been laying off thousands of employees while simultaneously reporting record profits and paying Nadella tens of millions. The company eliminated 10,000 jobs in early 2023 and announced another 1,900 layoffs in early 2024. Somehow, there's always money for executive compensation, but never enough for job security. The number 2 spot goes to Brian Niccol, the new CEO of Starbucks, who made a staggering $95.8 million in just 4 months on the job in 2024. Starbucks generated $36.2 billion in revenue last year, making Niccol's compensation an astronomical 0.265% of company revenue. Let that sink in. For every $377 in coffee and food that Starbucks customers purchased, $1 went directly to Brian Niccol. And remember, he only worked for 4 months out of 2024 after taking over in September. Niccol was recruited from Chipotle specifically to turn around Starbucks' declining sales and customer satisfaction. His compensation package included a $1.6 million base salary, a $10 million signing bonus, and $75 million in stock awards to compensate for leaving Chipotle. About 94% of his total pay came from stock awards. Here's the truly galling part. While Nickel collected nearly $96 million for 4 months of work, Starbucks reported a median employee wage of just $14,674. This creates a CEO to worker pay ratio of 6,666 to 1, the highest among major corporations. Starbucks baristas, many of whom are college students or young adults struggling with student debt and rent, are making poverty wages, while their CEO collects enough money to buy a small island. Starbucks has also been fighting unionization efforts by employees seeking better wages and working conditions, spending millions on union-busting consultants while paying their CEO more money per day than most of their workers make in a decade. And taking the #1 spot in our investigation of executive greed is Jim Anderson, CEO of Coherent Corp., who made a mind-blowing $101.5 million in 2024 from a company that generated just $4.7 billion in revenue. Anderson's compensation represents an unfathomable 2.16% of his company's total revenue. To put this into perspective, for every $46 that Coherent Corp brought in, $1 went directly to Jim Anderson. This Pennsylvania-based company makes equipment for networks and laser systems, not exactly a consumer-facing business that most Americans have heard of. Yet it's paying its CEO at rates that dwarf those of Apple, Microsoft, and Google. Anderson joined Coherent in June 2024, meaning that he made $101.5 million in just 7 months on the job. His compensation package included a modest $81,538 base salary, since he only worked part of the year, plus a $500,000 signing bonus. But the real money came from over $100 million in stock awards. Coherent Corp operates the industrial technology sector, providing components for telecommunications, data centers, and manufacturing. This is the kind of company that benefits enormously from government contracts, infrastructure spending, and defense procurement, essentially taxpayer money flowing to private companies. Yet while Americans struggle with crumbling infrastructure and inadequate broadband, the CEO of a company that helps build this technology is extracting over $100 million annually. Anderson's previous company, Lattice Semiconductor, saw its stock price drop 16% when he left, while Coherent's stock jumped 23% on news of his hiring. This suggests investors believe CEO compensation at these levels is somehow justified by stock performance. But ask yourself, is any individual's contribution worth 2.16% of an entire company's revenue? These numbers aren't just statistics. They represent a fundamental breakdown in how America distributes wealth. While housing costs have increased 52% since 2020, grocery prices have risen 25%, and healthcare costs continue to skyrocket. These 5 CEOs collectively extracted over $438 million from their companies in a single year. Brian Thompson's $10.2 million from United Healthcare, which we used as our reference point, suddenly almost looks reasonable compared to Jim Anderson's $101.5 million extracted from Coherent Corp. But remember, Thompson was running a healthcare system that routinely denied care to sick Americans while generating massive profits. The fact that other CEOs make his compensation look modest should truly terrify us. The median American household income is approximately $70,000. Jim Anderson made more in 3.5 days than the median American family makes in an entire year. Brian Nickel made more in 4.5 days than most Starbucks employees make in a lifetime of work. This isn't capitalism, it's extraction. These compensation packages represent wealth being sucked out of companies that depend on American infrastructure, educated workers, government contracts, and consumer spending. While ordinary Americans see their purchasing power eroded by inflation, these executives are ensuring they capture an ever larger share of their company's output. The 5 CEOs we've examined today, Jim Anderson, Brian Nickel, Satya Nadella, Tim Cook, and Larry Culp, represent everything wrong with modern American capitalism. They are not entrepreneurs who built these companies from nothing. They're not irreplaceable geniuses whose skills justify compensation that exceeds the GDP of small nations. They are extractors. Executives who have gamed a system that allows them to capture wealth at rates that would have been inconceivable to previous generations of American business leaders. While working families choose between paying rent and buying groceries, these 5 individuals extracted nearly $500 million from their companies in a single year. The Brian Thompson reference point we started with, a healthcare CEO making millions while overseeing a system that denies care to maximize profits, now seems quaint compared to Jim Anderson extracting over 2% of his company's entire revenue stream. The question isn't whether CEOs deserve their compensation. The question is whether a system that allows such extreme extraction can survive when everyone else is struggling to get by. And based on the growing anger and frustration across America, the answer might be no.